Have you ever seen on social media where someone finds a flower that's new to them and they're pretty excited about it, so they post it on Facebook or Instagram and ask the group, do you know what this is? And someone usually responds, sometimes kindly, sometimes rather rudely, that what they found is an invasive weed. And they use words like eradicate or noxious or invasive. I've had that happen to me. I don't mind it when someone corrects me, but I do appreciate it when they do it kindly. So one of those plants that I often see people post is Queensland lace. And that's the plant that I have here behind me, and it's growing in this ditch here. Hey, I'm the Iowa Prairie Girl. I'm coming to you from a ditch, a gravel road in North Iowa, but I could be in any gravel road in Iowa or in the Midwest or almost in any 48 lower states in the United States. Queen Anne's lace is an invasive plant and it's growing everywhere. It is July. It grows between June and September, but in the middle of the summer it's growing everywhere. It is rather pretty. It is one of those plants that you are taught to hate, to love to hate. No, how do you say that? You are taught that you need to hate it, although you still kind of like it. So hey, if you stick around, we're going to take a closer look at Queen Anne's lace. So I'm down in the ditch now with the Queen Anne's lace. I'm also with another very invasive plant down here, and that is yellow parsnip. And it's July, it's the third week in July, and it's actually, yellow parsnip is actually starting to kind of decline. It's going to seed. But the one thing about Queen Anne's lace is it might be invasive, but it doesn't cause a rash or anything. But you do have to be careful. If you're looking at Queen Anne's lace, you do want to make sure that it's Queen Anne's lace that you're touching and not water hemlock or poison hemlock or a cow parsnip. They look very similar to Queen Anne's lace, although I think Queen Anne's lace is prettier than all of them. Let's look at the plant in general. It can grow to be about 3 to 7 feet tall. I am 5'4", so you can see that these are, some of these are almost 5 foot tall. They have a hollow stem. The stem is kind of rigid. It's a little bit hairy. And the ridges are very prominent. It reminds me of corduroy, where you can see the ridges in corduroy. So they're vertical veined, and you can see those veins and those ridges going up and down on the stem. The leaf is very compound. It's almost like a fern. It is compound, and it's divided into little leaflets. And it's very pretty. And the one thing about Queen Anne's lace, it's in the parsnip family or the carrot family. And the leaves, when you rub them in your hands, or if you just pick them, you get a very distinct carrot smell. Very much smells like carrot. But the taproot itself, it looks like a carrot. And it's a yellowish white carrot root. It's in the carrot family. It is edible. Again, not a foraging video. Please don't use my videos to forage for Queen Anne's lace. And again, it looks very similar to other plants out there, so be careful. But that taproot is like a carrot. It doesn't taste like a carrot. It is a very, very bitter root, but it is edible. So I mentioned the leaf. We talked about how it's a leaflet, a compound leaf that grows into very dainty, lacy, fern-like little leaflets. Now if we take a look at the flower head, so here's one plant in front of me, and it terminates, or the stems terminate into a umbel, U-M-B-E-L, umbel, which is like an upside down umbrella. And so this plant itself, this one in front of me, oh goodness, it's going to end up like 10 different flower heads. And then each one of these little umbrellas have umbellets. And there are 20 to 90 little flower heads on this one. And then each one of those umbellets could have between 50 to 60 flowers. And so one plant could end up having 40,000 flowers. Each one of those flowers is fertile, meaning that it can produce a seed, except, some of you might know this, on the very center, I don't know if you can see that one, I've got some pictures, on the very center of this one is a reddish purple flower, and that one flower is a sterile flower, meaning that it won't produce a seed. No one's quite sure why this flower has that one red flower in there, and there's some folklore to that, which we'll get to. So what happens, another name for this plant is a bird's nest or crow's nest. And what happens is as the flower matures, you have your brackets. They have, everything about this plant is kind of dainty or delicate. It has these fun, thin, delicate, light green brackets on the back of the flower. And as the flower matures, they start to close up. And that's where you get the name bird's nest or crow's nest. And each one of these flowers, like I said, will produce a seed, and you'll have this dried up flower head that looks like a tumbleweed. And as it dries up, it will fall off the plant, and that tumbleweed will get blown around in the wind, and that's how the seeds get spread for Queen Anne's lace. So when we say invasive plant, what does that mean? Most invasive plants are not native to the United States. Most of them, just like Queen Anne's lace, came over long time ago, centuries ago, with the first white settlers. They brought over Queen Anne's lace. And when we say invasive, it means that it just spreads like crazy. And one of the downfalls of an invasive plant is that it takes over all the habitat of the native plants. And so I have seen ditches that should be filled with native wildflowers filled with Queen Anne's lace. Most invasive plants take up all the nutrients, and they just take up the growing space for what should be native plants. Now, I am down here in a ditch with a bunch of Queen Anne's lace, and I will tell you that there are insects and bees and little flies all over the place. It has been documented that over 60 different insects will visit Queen Anne's lace. I mean, so it does give some benefit. A swallowtail butterfly has been known to use it as a host plant for its caterpillars. So, you know, it does have some benefit. Benefits to Queen Anne's lace, however, a lot of disadvantages with it being invasive. Farmers also do not like Queen Anne's lace. That big taproot, there's really no way to destroy Queen Anne's lace. You can try pulling it, you can try mowing it, but most of all, you probably would have to use some kind of chemical on it. So farmers hate it because of that deep taproot. It's hard to plow over. Also, if your cattle or if your milking cows eat Queen Anne's lace, it will make the milk have a bitter taste to it. Other animals that might benefit from it, we mentioned the butterfly, the swallowtail. Pheasants will eat the seeds, as well as other little rodents. Field mice will eat the seeds from the Queen Anne's lace. Again, talking invasive, a very interesting note is that European starlings, which is a bird that's non-native to the United States that was introduced and has become pretty much invasive in all the lower 48, will use Queen Anne's lace for nesting material. And isn't that kind of ironic that the invasive bird uses the invasive wildflower for its nesting material? No, I couldn't do a video about Queen Anne's lace without talking about its name. So where does Queen Anne's lace get its name? I'm down in a ditch now next to this particular plant, and I'm right next to some ragweed. You know, Queen Anne's lace grows right there with all the different weeds. So Queen Anne was the Queen of England in the 1700s, and she loved lace. They said she had it on all her dresses, and she challenged her ladies-in-waiting to try to make lace as pretty as the flowers on this plant. And she was also involved in this contest, and apparently the story goes that she won, and so then the flower was named Queen Anne's lace. There's another story that says, well, she was tatting, that she pricked her finger and a drop of blood fell on her lace, and that is to go along with the folklore of why this flower has a sterile red flower in the middle of the plant. This plant is also known or associated with a flower that you might give someone if they lose a child. Apparently Queen Anne had 18 children, and she only had one survive to adulthood. And so this flower is associated with the loss of children. Flower goes by Queen Anne's lace. Got my ragweed here. Devil's plague, that's what some farmers might call it, and I told you why farmers hate it. Bird's nest, we talked about the bird's nest or the crow's nest, also called bishop's flower. Apparently it is associated with or represents safety, sanctuary, and refuge, so bishop's flower. It is a very beautiful flower. Again, there are bees and ants and all kinds of insects around me today in the Queen Anne's lace. So really it's up to you. Love it or leave it. It is, like I said, an attractive flower. It has a very nice aroma. The leaves smell like carrots, but it is invasive and it does harm our native wildflowers. So thanks for watching. I am the Iowa Prairie Girl, coming to you from a ditch in Iowa. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I hope when you get out in nature, whether it's a ditch in Iowa, whether it's a remnant prairie, or maybe just a park or a state park or a county park, or floating down a river, I hope that when you get out that you get to see something wonderful. Thanks for watching.